All right. You're listening to the Dead Man's Tone podcast, a show that's all about horror, writing, news, drama, all about having a good time, okay? A show broadcast live from a trailer park deep in the heart of Meth County, Texas. I'm your host, Mr. Deadman. With me is S.K. Barrett, a life coach that can unfuck your life if you give him a chance. And a guest co-host in training, Tammy. Tammy, I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. Tammy G. Tammy G. Oh.
You didn't even try.
Not even going to try. It's past my vocabulary level, which is like fourth grade grammar. Okay.
And he's from Texas.
Yeah, representing the best in Texas. Actually, representing the best in Texas is our guest tonight, Joe R. Lansdale. How's it going, Joe?
It's going well. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, no problem.
Thanks for being here, man.
I know, right? He's like a legend.
What's that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Said thanks for being here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Glad to do it.
All right. Look, tonight we have a bunch of stuff to go and talk about. We got a very important, very rigorous interview for Tammy G. Okay. And of course, we have a conversation with the legendary author, Joe Lansdale, and a caption contest after that. All right. So, but because of time, I think we'll start with let's just start talking with Joe. We'll save the Tammy interview later because let's see if she's even worth it. Right, Tammy?
I have my doubts.
I guess so. Well, let's see if I can like you guys. I mean,
you're welcome. You're welcome to cut me at any time to bring in Tammy.
Oh, he's being nice. Okay. All right. So,
Texas manners.
He has
That's
his.
Right.
I lost mine. But I'll tell you what, Mr. Lansdale, a lot of people know who you are. But for those who don't, who are you and what do you do?
Well, I'm a freelance writer. I've been one for 46 years. I've been full-time most of that, probably 38 years. I've written books and short stories and films and TV and comic books and animation. And I'm also a martial artist. I've been doing that for 56 years. And, I am just a busy son of a gun.
That is a whole lot right there, man. You like how many books were we talking about? Like over 50 books?
50 novels, counting the ones that are in the canon that are about to come out, and probably about 35 short story collections. Plus, I edited or co-edited a number of other nonfiction books. A couple of nonfiction books and some anthologies of short stories. So if you put all those together, I've been involved in writing approximately 85 books, and another 12, 15 of those are books that I've edited or co-edited.
We're pushing 3 digits here.
Well, and that's not counting the nonfiction and the scripts and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, not counting that. Very busy man.
And the cure for cancer is almost finished.
And your material, it spans from various genres. Like we're talking about Western, sci-fi, mystery, horror.
Yep.
You got any romance in there too?
I actually have one romance short story that I wrote a few years ago for, of all places, Ferrari magazine.
That was meant to be a joke, but he's serious. Oh, shit.
I'm serious. Ferrari magazine, that's right. And I've done a bunch of pen name books or pseudonymous stuff, too, when I was early in my career when I was starting out.
I mean, did you ever submit something into Penthouse Forum, too? Are we going to find... I mean, do you have an...
Well, I wrote for a couple of the men's magazines under pen names way back.
Wow. I can't even make jokes. These jokes are
So, what's your favorite genre?
I don't have a favorite genre, really. I like them all. I tend to be someone that just tries to write the story that I'm interested in telling. That's what I'm about. I don't try to, and I don't want to make a career based on being a mystery writer, a crime writer, a science fiction writer, because then you're not selling yourself. I want to make the only genre I really want to be is the Joe Lansdale genre. And that might well contain a lot of different genres or elements thereof or mixtures or something outside of it.
Oh, wow. So you're not writing the market. You are writing like for yourself?
Well, it's a mixture. When I first started, I wrote to market, and I wrote some real shit. And I wasn't selling it either. And so I said, well, I was selling a little bit here and there. So I said, screw it. I'm going to go my own way. And so I began to write my stuff, which also didn't sell. But then in a short time, it did begin to sell. And then that became stuff that people were going, what is this? And then pretty soon they're going, can we have more of this? And so you've got to be your own person. Now, if someone comes to me and says, look, I'm doing an anthology, and I'm doing a crime anthology, or I'm doing a ghost story. Well, I might say, oh, that sounds appealing. But if I do it, I'm still going to try to bring my own signature to it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to say, okay, it's a ghost story, I've got to do it this way. I may decide I want to do something very traditional. And then I may decide I want to do something totally outside of that, something that's sort of off the wall. I never really know. And if somebody doesn't want that, then don't ask me.
Right. Okay.
So that period of time early on when things weren't selling, talk about that.
Well, I've always, when I was 4 years old, I wanted to write because I discovered comics, and I was reading comics, and I wanted to be a comic book writer, an artist. And I was like one of the great artists at 4 years old. And at 6, I was still that same artist. And at 12, I was still that same artist, which means I sucked. I didn't get any better. But my storytelling was what I really liked. And it got better as I went. And I read, I also got interested in things through television and movies. And then that led me to books. And I read all of these books and short stories. And so I knew I wanted to do that. And I just assumed I would have to do something else along the way, which, I did, or I assumed I would have to have another career and write part-time, which I didn't want to do, but assumed. But so I worked in the rose fields, and I worked in, I dug potatoes, and I plowed with a mule.
Literal roses?
Literal roses.
Oh, wow.
So your life was a
full of them. Yes, bed of roses with thorns. And my wife and I both did that. My wife and I met when we were 21. We got married. We're 46 years later. We're still married. And I sold the first piece about when we met. And so she was my good luck charm. And she always claims I married her for a typewriter because I didn't have one. She had, so go ahead. I just said she had a Montgomery Ward's manual. So I wrote all those things on a manual. And I dug ditches. I worked in, plumbing, carpentry. I was the guy that, they said, go hand me that board. I wasn't the skilled labor. I was the, person doing it. We had a goat dairy for a while. Oh, wow. I worked as a janitor for 7 years. I think approximately 5 of it was at the Stephen F. Austin State University in Nacogdoches, Texas, where I live outside of it. Mm-hmm. And then I worked for a year at the hospital. I did part-time bouncing, for, different clubs and things like that when they wanted me to, which is mostly just standing around, actually. And then I did, looking tough, or try not to look too tough. You didn't want somebody to try you out, because I wouldn't like some of the big guys. I was smaller, so they probably thought, I think I can take that little sucker. So I had to kind of be on my toes. And then I did all that, and then I worked at a high school as a custodian for a while, a custodial supervisor. And so I worked at Goodwill Industries as a publicity person and as a traffic manager, which means their trucks and things like that. I did all kinds of part-time jobs, and I wrote. And while I was working in the rose fields, my wife's, the weather got just awful, and I couldn't work. And my wife said, well, look, I've got this job now. She just got a new job. She'd been working the rose fields with me, but she got a job loading lunch meat onto freezer trucks. And so she said, look, right? No, that's not. Okay, that's exactly what it was. And so she had to wear like a little fucking snowsuit, and break all this stuff on. And she said, I've got, the weather's going to be bad, and it's like October or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But she said, why don't you just take 3 months off and write? I know that you want to do that. And I'd already been selling. But I was selling nothing but nonfiction. And I kept wanting to sit down and really try fiction. I had certainly written some of it, but I'd never sent it out. I'd never finished anything, except maybe a crummy short story.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, okay, I'll do that. She said, but when I come home, you better well have something, or, my ass would be grass. And so mowed grass, as they used to say. And I wrote a story a day for 90 days because I didn't know you couldn't do that. I'd never met another writer. I never met an agent. I never met an editor. I had no idea how to submit a manuscript, any of that stuff. I lived out in the wilds of East Texas, and which is, woods and water. It's nothing like people think of Texas. It's East Texas. It's like the South.
Yeah.
It looks totally different. So I never met anybody like that. Nobody ever did that sort of thing. I never met anybody else that ever wanted to write. So I wrote those 90 stories, and over a 4-year span, I got 1,000 rejects, because back then you could sell, if you could sell it, you could send a story to 10, 15, 20 markets, because there were magazines all over the place, and all kinds of magazines bought fiction. Now, certainly, not knowing what I was doing, I probably sent those, I sent those damn things everywhere from Cosmopolitan to Dog Digest. And back then, many of those magazines, like Cosmopolitan, bought short stories. And then they changed, and way back, and it was not like the Helen Gurley Brown version, which was developed out of that. It used to, all those used to buy fiction, Saturday Evening Post and all of that. So all those magazines were there, the science fiction magazine, the fantasy magazines, the Alfred Hitchcock, Ellery Queen, the Saint, and so on and so on, Mike Shane Mystery Magazine. So anyway, I sent all of those things out, and over a period of time, I got about 1,000 rejects. But during that 4 years I was getting those, I was writing other stuff, and I was writing better. And then gradually I began to sell fiction, because like I said, I was selling all the nonfiction I wrote. Very first thing I wrote sold. Everything I wrote after that was nonfiction sold. But when I started writing fiction, it took me about 2.5 years. And then once I started selling, I started picking up my pace. I started selling more frequently to Mike Shane Mystery Magazine and a couple of small presses, and then I moved into anthologies, and then Twilight Zone magazine, and so on and so on. And I sort of became like an anthology king. People would come, I'll be on this anthology.
Yeah.
You want to do a story? And I said, well, I want to do my take on this. If it's a mummy anthology, I want to do my take. Or when they Elvis anthology, I did Bubba Hotep. I always wanted to go my own way.
Which, by the way,
I'm sorry. I wanted to. Is it okay? Can I ask a question? Is it okay?
Yeah, you can ask first, guy. You can ask. You can ask.
No, you're not allowed.
Woohoo!
I like that, Tammy. I like that. You gotta bust his balls more often. Checking the right comment. All right.
They're permanently busted, let me tell you. You said something that I really would like a little more clarification on, and that was when you talked about you started doing all this writing, and you said, and my writing got better.
Yep.
So my question is, speaking on behalf of writers everywhere, just doing more writing doesn't necessarily make you better.
I don't know that anything necessarily makes you better, but for the most part, I think it does. I think, and I read too. I mean, I read at least a book a day, and because I would work, because I would read in the morning before I went to work, and then at my lunch break I'd pull it out and read it, and then I'd come home and I'd read a little bit. Then we would watch maybe we had we have one channel on TV, so we watched maybe one show a night. And we sat around, we visited, we had dinner, my wife and I, and then she went to bed. And then my deal was I worked from 10:30 till midnight, or 3 pages, whichever came first. And I'm a big believer that you got to get the shit out of your system. You got to mine out all of that plumbing that's been put in there through your life. And that's why those 90 stories were terrible, is I was getting rid of every, short story I had ever read that I was trying to rewrite badly. Eventually you get to where you may be able to actually take a same idea and put your own twist on it, and it may be influenced by Ray Bradbury or something, but it's you, because you run it all through a blender.
Yes. I totally agree with the clearing out the obvious stuff. Concept. I've arrived at that conclusion my own self.
Right. Well, I actually think that doing a lot makes you better until doing a lot makes you worse. So you have to kind of know where that line is. Now, I'm still prolific, but for me, writing at a certain point, I don't want to say it's easy, but I don't have that sort of thing where people are like beating their heads against it and, you know, sweating over the page. Now, I had that when I started, you know, and I got a lot of that out with those 90 stories. And then it took me another couple of years to start to feel natural. When I started finding my own voice, when I started sounding like me instead of somebody else, or I begin to take the ideas and tonalities and approaches of others and put it in a blender, not put it in a fruit salad where everything is distinguished and identifiable easily, but to put it all into a blender till you made something that was kind of, you know, unified and mixed with so many different ingredients. That's when I begin to be me, and that's when I begin to sound like me. That's when I realized, you know, I'm not from New York. I'm not from Los Angeles. And what I know is East Texas. Now, as time went on, I wrote some things outside of that. But then and now, my best stuff comes from my background and my own experiences. And I borrow from my own biography or autobiography all of the time, though I'm not literally trying to be autobiographical, if that makes sense.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. You write from your experience.
Absolutely.
You draw from it.
Another thing that I learned that I think was a big key for me was to quit trying to write so many goddamn pages every day and quit trying to be a hero and work 8-10 hours every day. I did that originally when I first started, but I realized that what I really got over a period of time was diminishing returns. I began to realize that I did best. For a while, I did 3 hours in the morning. I'd have lunch and then go work 2 more hours. So essentially 5 hours. But I began to realize those last 2 hours, I was doing everything but play with my pecker. You know, I was sitting down there messing with this stuff.
Well, really,
you know,
what?
Yeah. Sometimes I sang to my pecker.
Do we need to know your browsing history?
Yeah, you don't want to see that. We didn't have browsing history, son, and we had like a typewriter. And so, but I began to realize that I wasn't doing any better for the extra. So what I kind of came to was I worked 3 hours in the morning. Now, sometimes I vary that if something comes up that changes it, but I work essentially 5 to 7 days a week, generally 7, 3 hours in the morning, roughly. I don't count the minutes. And I try to get no less than 3 pages a day and sometimes 5.
Yeah.
Now, I'll have go down and I'll get 10 or 15. And they'll be pretty damn good pages. But I'm a hero every day. I don't leave it, and I don't leave it worn out so that the next day I wrote 20 pages today, and the next day I'm sitting around, you know, playing with my grapes. I've done it, you know, and so I do that every day. And at the end of the week, you know, I've got 21, 35 pages, something like that, just if I do the average. And if I have those days where I do this a little bit more, I may have 50, 60 pages a week. I had a novel shortly, not long ago, the last novel I wrote that's coming out in July, which my publishers are very excited about. I wrote in 3 weeks. So, I mean, I was averaging about 40 pages a day, and then I spent a week revising because I don't do multiple drafts either. I do one draft, polish as I go, and then I do a kind of an overall sweep. And 9 times out of 10, it's pretty damn close the first time. And so I don't have to do much. It's just a polish, one draft and a polish. Every now and then, I'll find that I screwed up, that I wrote, I really need to rewrite an entire chapter or whatever, but that doesn't happen often.
Okay. So you talk about this, how it was for you when you were writing and then submitting stories and all that. How does that compare to now? Like, especially like writers now and the way the market is, like, do you have any thoughts on that? Like, there's
well, you know, the market, there's still people that make a living. Well, there's different markets and different approaches. You know, before I was coming along, everybody thought the markets were going then because the digest and pulp magazines, the pulp magazines were dead and everything was the paperback. The original paperback was a big thing. Of course, hardbacks too that turned to paperbacks. So then as time went on, the magazines began to disappear. But my career was established by then. However, it doesn't matter if your career is established or not if you have nowhere to publish. So there are places to publish, but people dodge it immediately and start self-publishing. Now, if you're already published some books, and like we're doing Pandy Press, those are books that have already sold. They've been sold to option to movies. They've got a history, and I've got a history, and I can pull them at any time and take them somewhere else if I choose. But everybody immediately thinks I'll just publish myself. Well, some people actually do well like that, but I've had some people say, "Oh yeah, I made $500 last year." Well, okay. That's $500. If that's all you need, and you're happy with that, no problems. But I need more than $500 because not only do I make a living at this, I love doing it, and I want more people to read it as is possible. And the only way I would self-publish is maybe at the end of my career, where I've had all these books that may be returned to me, and I think, well, I got one foot in the ditch and another on a banana peel. I might as well just publish them myself. But as it goes now, that isn't the case. I did these 3 experimentally. I had a publisher want to buy one for quite a bit of money, and I thought, well, they'll own them in perpetuity, and and they own the ebook rights, and they give me 25%, so I can get 50% or better with some of these other companies, or doing it myself. That wouldn't be a good idea for all my novels, but it would be a good idea for some of my backlist. And if they start to not sell, well, I own them, so I can say, okay, let's try another publisher. Let's do something different. But on the whole, you have to, what it is nobody's vetted anymore. Everybody thinks they're a fucking brilliant Hemingway to start with. And they want, what? They just don't understand me. Yes, they do. You fucking suck. You suck.
I mean,
you don't know you suck. But you do suck. I suck.
It's kind of left to the audience now, to the readers. It's like if they don't like it, then they'll let's move to something else. But then you find there's bestsellers.
Well, that's not even true quality. Either. I don't. Well, yeah, but I'll tell you what. I get sent a lot of self-published books, and the worst bestseller makes those things look like toilet paper 99% of the time. Every now and then, though, you'll pick up one that'll be brilliant. It'll be great. You say, God, this should have been a major publisher. But you can piss on the bestsellers all you want and compare them to the most self-published books. Not only are they, seemingly most of them illiterate sounding, but there are certain people that, they just have such weird imaginations. And I'm kind of one of them. I'm lucky I got in. But that may be a good route for them, but they never try to see if there's another place to be published. They just immediately start self-publishing. And that's a bad idea, because you need to be vetted. You needed some rejection slips. I had one of my very early rejection slips. I sent a story to Mike Shane, and he said, "You know what? You got something here, but you're not telling this straight. You're trying to be too cute," or something along those lines. It was Sam Merwin. I don't remember his exact quote. And so I rewrote it, and I sent it to him. He said, "No, this isn't it either. Try something new." So I rewrote it again and sent it to him, and he wrote a note. He said, "You know what? I hate this piece more every time I see it." And write something different.
Oh, that's encouraging.
And then, I had one tell me, but I wrote it the next time he bought the next story. And that was my first fiction sale. But I was persistent. I was not. I couldn't be discouraged. And the more rejections I got, the more determined I became. And so that's the kind of minds that you have. But I do think that all the self-publishing has a place, and there's, like I say, I'm not trying to say nobody should self-publish, but what I'm saying is that's the first way people go, because they don't want to be told no. They don't want to go through this thing of trying to get with publishers. People make livings with publishing every year. New writers are discovered every year. So, the market's changed. There are even internet markets, and there are small book companies that may not pay a lot, but they're a good place to get your feet wet. Some of those but they vet. You're not doing it yourself.
Yeah.
So, I went to a convention, and I didn't recognize one book company there. Most of them were self-published, but the rest of them were these small little companies that were actually producing some pretty good writers, because they said no, or they said this is not working. And if I thought an editor was wrong, I just wouldn't do it. I just pulled the story. I did that many times.
Yeah.
And sometimes I was wrong.
I want to get your thought on, every now and then it seems like there's a trend where there's bestsellers and they are so bad grammatically. Like I could think of like what 50 Shades of 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, 50 Shades.
Yeah, that started off as self-published, and then it became.
From what I've heard, I've never read anything, but I hear horrors. I've seen some snippets, and it's pretty bad.
Well, yeah, and the Da Vinci Code and all that. But you know, when you get right down to it, I haven't read. I tried the Da Vinci Code. I couldn't get past the first chapter. I thought there's no characters. It's terrible writing. It's pulp writing. But you know what? I respect that person because they took a really good idea and put it out there, and it caught. Because you have to understand that even 50 Shades of Grey, I wouldn't wipe my ass on it, because I read just a little few pages of it to know, oh my God, this ain't for me. But it appealed to a lot of people. It appealed to a lot of people, and there's a reason for that. It's got something that we don't have, or it's doing something for certain people that we aren't. So you can't piss on stuff like that, you know, because it has a tremendous success, or just the fact that it's a novelty, or people think it's going to be sexy or whatever it is that's selling it. It's, you know, like James Patterson, people piss on him all the time. But I always say Patterson actually understands the audience better than we do.
Yeah.
My problem is I write like everybody I know is dead. I don't write for you. I don't write for my agent. I don't write for my editor. I don't write for my publisher. I don't write for my wife. I write for me. And it's not because I am a self-centered son of a bitch. It's simply it's simply because I don't know what other people want. I don't have that knack. I don't know what the majority of people are looking for. And if I tried to figure what you want or what Tammy wants or what anybody wants besides, you know, me, I would be running all over the place trying to put, a hat on all the cowboys, and that just doesn't work that way. And so what I'd do is I'd write for me and just hope somebody else felt as I did.
Yeah.
And fortunately, that's been the case.
The truth is, nobody knows what people want.
No.
Until it's out there and people start buying it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a lot of the books that are poorly proofread and stuff, that's not the author's job unless they're just sloppy. They used to hire proofreaders. I have a very good one. I was proofing a book when you called, the one that comes out in July from Little Brown, Mulholland, called More Better Deals. And they're terrific. I mean, they catch me when I, make all kinds of mistakes, and I make them. And I every now and then I misspell a word, but also I know when to tell them no, because I leave words out on purpose sometimes. I don't want everything said in a formal manner, because that's not the way I talk. That's not the way the characters talk.
Yeah.
If I'm writing about English professors having a discussion about Proust, then maybe I would write differently,
Mm-hmm.
But it's not what I'm doing. So you have to have that balance between not having your ego so big that you can't take criticism. You have to have a hide like a rhinoceros, but you also have to have enough confidence to realize this is what I set out to do, and I'm sticking with this, but I'm changing this. And the things that strike me the most when I have proofreaders, and editors are okay, but proofreaders interest me far more because they keep me from looking like an idiot. Most of the time, the editors, they don't want what I want, and I just say, no, I'm not doing that. And if they come up with a good idea, I go, oh, that is a good idea.
Yeah.
But I also feel that if I'm writing a book and an editor comes in and says, why don't we add this whole line to it? I can't do that. That's just not in my DNA. If I've written that book, I can take advice to make my book better. But I'm really thinking, you know what? If that's the story you want to write, you get your own goddamn typewriter, you son of a bitch, and write your book.
Yeah, right.
When I write my book, that's when I want the proof editor to come in, proofreader, because they find the stuff where I failed, or I forgot that on, the chapter 4, so-and-so was wearing blue pants, and now I have them wearing red pants. And so a lot of times when you see that stuff in major publishers, and it may be the writer's mistake, but the writer is there to create the story and to write prose as good as they can, but they're not necessarily supposed to, and they should be able to spell as well as they can. They should understand grammar well enough to know how to break the rules. But it's the proofreaders and the publisher's job to make sure that they don't spell cat with a K, unless they mean to.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
We have a question in the chat Do you have any tips on writing exposition and dialogue and writing dialogue and making it sound natural?
Well, you know what you're striving for is the illusion of natural, because the reason it's an illusion is that you're picking dialogue that not only answers questions or asks questions of the characters, but it reveals information about the characters, and it should be written in such a way that you don't have things like he replied smartly, he replied angrily. You lose all that shit immediately.
Yeah.
He said, she said, or you don't say it all. You know, if you can write the scene, if you read James Cain, he never uses said anytime, and you always know what's being said. I mean, he's a brilliant at that. Hemingway, he used said. You don't need all that, and it's not. That's when you're not writing. That's when you're trying to cheat. That's when you're trying to say, or people don't growl sentences. You don't. You grunt a sentence. Try grunting a sentence. It don't work.
No.
So you don't. When people write that, I immediately go and yeah, some good writers do that, and I know that, but I hate it. Even among writers I admire. Ray Bradbury would do that kind of stuff from time to time. Or, he was barking enthusiastically,
Oh, I hate that. What do you mean barking?
I don't need that.
Is he a dog?
What you need is
woof, woof.
is you need to set the scene in such a way. If you set the scene correctly, people know how it's being said. Right. They know what's being said. And it's like when you write a screenplay, you don't put all this information for how the actor should deliver the line because I'm taking their job away from them. I shouldn't be trying to put a sock in their pants before they get started. I'll let them decide how they want to read that line, And that's what I always hate is a book that tells me instead of shows me. Mm-hmm. And you're going to tell a little bit. But the thing is that you don't say, God, he was a bad man. That might be something you can get away with now and again. But, are you trying to say, oh, he was ugly? That's nothing. Unless somebody in dialogue says that, and oh God, that motherfucker's ugly. But if you're saying, his face looked like asphalt and gravel and 6 miles of bad road, then you said that person is ugly, but you said it in an interesting way.
You said it
that may be a little bit overdone.
It paints a mental picture. That's what that does. Okay.
That's what you're after. That's what you're after. It's hotter than 2 rats fucking in a wool sock. That sets your atmosphere immediately, And or like when Raymond Chandler said she was the kind of blonde that make a bishop kick a hole in a stained glass window.
You're like a quote fucking machine over here. Goddamn.
Well, that was Chandler's. That was Chandler's. The rats in that's mine from Big Blow, which Ridley Scott's had for 15 years. But
damn it, Ridley.
Ridley make that goddamn movie.
Did you ever writing lines for like those 80s movies? I'm just thinking of some movies that have some really classic lines. It seems like something you'd write. Like, I don't know.
No. But I probably learned from those things because I learned from everything. If you're a writer, if you're not reading 2 or 3 books a week, you're just fucking around. I don't give a fuck what kind of job you had. I work 2 jobs and I can manage to read 2 books a week. And I am relatively a fast reader naturally. But do you want to write or do you want to talk about being a writer? Do you want to do the work that's necessary to get there? Or do you just want to talk about it,
I just want to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. A lot of people do. But me, it makes my day every day when I work. Some days I'll just be doing proofing or whatever. Or, I have something else that's related to writing that I spend that time doing. But when I get up in the morning, I'm excited. I don't plot. I don't outline. I don't write synopsis, except for the few times I've had to for films or books, and then I never follow them. So it's like I didn't write them. Because as soon as I write that shit, I no longer want to do it. I feel like I've told that story. So I just start the story and let the character develop, and then I go to bed at night after I've done my 3 to 5 pages, get up the next morning, and when my feet hit coffee, I'm ready.
Okay. So, Tammy, do you have any questions?
I was just going to ask him, what was your favorite book that you wrote? Do you have a favorite?
That I've written? Yeah, my favorite novel of mine is Paradise Sky. Most people's favorite novel of mine is called The Bottoms. In fact, every time I think about The Bottoms, I I'm kind of loving it again. But I had a friend, Bill Paxton, who's was an actor, and he and I had been working on that for about 7 or 8 years to make it into a film. Brent Hanley had written a script. He wrote a script for Bill for Frailty, and we had a good script.
That the other day for the.
Isn't that great?
77th time, I think.
Yeah.
One of the most underrated films of all time.
Absolutely. And Brent Hanley did the script based on my novel, and Bill was going to direct it. He wasn't going to star in it. And we had it ready to go, and we were like, I think, 2 weeks away from them starting to prep. And Bill called me and said, Joe, you got to get another director. I said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, I got to go in. I got to know how long it'd take. I said, Bill, I haven't got anything signed or anything like that. I'll just wait on you. When you get out, you get it done. And then we made jokes about splitting up his goods if something went wrong, things like that. And damned if something didn't go wrong. And Bill died, So that kind of, it kind of put me off my own book for a little while. I've now returned to it. But Bill was such a good guy.
I was just going to ask that because he seems, in all of his roles, in everything he's done, he seems like just such a solid guy.
He is exactly what you think he is. I mean, he can play villains and whatever, but, he really was a sweet and smart and talented human being. He was an artist. He was a director. He was an actor. He could build sets. He was a raconteur. As people said, when they get me and Bill together, nobody else got to talk.
Okay. And The Bottoms, man. Good book. Great book.
Yeah, thank you.
I wanted to... Okay, I shared this with you, like, in our green room session, like, before the show, but, like, Bubba Hotep, man, I love that film. That film is hilarious. You got Elvis Presley, a JFK, a black JFK, in an old folks' home, having to fight a mummy. You got Bruce Campbell playing it. I mean, great film.
Another good guy. Another stand-up guy.
Dude, I was about to ask
Bruce is good people. Yeah.
Wait. You shared a beer with him? I mean, not share a beer, but you had a beer with him?
Well, I don't drink, so no, I didn't have a beer with him. But I've spent time with him. Yeah. Damn. Yeah. I remember one time we had dinner here in Nacogdoches, and we were in an Italian restaurant, and this waiter kept coming over and looking at me. He said, anybody ever tell you look like that guy in The Evil Dead? And Bruce said, he said, I get that all the time.
That's awesome.
But then finally he decided that is Bruce Campbell. But no, Bruce is a really good guy. What I like about Bruce, he's a stand-up guy. He's honest. He's he's not going to put up with bullshit. He's not a Hollywood guy in that normal sense in which you think of that. He lives in Oregon, and I live in Texas, and he's just he's no bullshit. And I admire Bruce. I think he's a really good guy, and we sort of we respect each other because we do what we want to do.
All right.
Well, hell, I'm up in Seattle. Tell Bruce to come by and say hi sometime.
He doesn't like you.
Oh.
That's case one.
Well, yeah, you're not far, are you? Yeah. No, but Bruce too. In I think we're both fairly gregarious, or can be, but we're also people that like to be by ourselves too, and or be with our family, and. So, and Bruce is one of those guys that, his whole life isn't just Hollywood movies, because he doesn't do Hollywood movies.
No, he doesn't.
And, or rarely. He's got a life besides that. He's got, things he's interested in. He's got a family, he's a really decent human being.
And I think that might have
I think one of the times I laughed, one time I was, Bill Paxton and I were driving back from Louisiana. And I can't remember. I think Bruce had texted about something that I had written him about, and I don't know why Bill was just jacking with me. So he said, Bruce Campbell. Oh my God, Bruce Campbell! So Bill was a fan.
Of course, he's not a fan. He's a national treasure.
Yeah. But I mean, here you are. Bill Paxton's made all these movies, and Bruce has made all these movies, and they, and Bruce, if I remember right, said say hi to Bill, and so I don't think they'd ever actually met or ever did actually meet, but it's really nice to know that two professionals respect one another.
That's good.
I was so thrilled to see him get that role in Burn Notice, where he was
Oh,
on
yeah.
every.
That's good. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it was good. He was good in that. He was, he's good in everything. And he's one of those guys that I think, even though people love him, I still think he's underappreciated.
Oh, he is, totally.
Yeah.
Okay, now do you
He really
think he's a
is
stand-up
underappreciated.
guy because the Hollywood machine hasn't corrupted him? Because he doesn't allow
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I think so too.
Yep.
I think these actors and actresses, when they get too embedded in Hollywood, it's like it just corrupts them. Maybe they start off good.
Yeah, and he's not there to pull your chain. I mean, but on the other hand, he's straightforward. You always know where you stand. He's a sweet guy. They just did a documentary on me, and they talked to a bunch of people like Bruce and whatever, and they had things to say, and he was just, he could just turn on that charm, but he was also, very funny, and he has that ability, but he also has that time, like me. Okay, I'm going to go be by myself now, and that's what I'm doing. I'm going to, and he had that. My name is Bruce. He had the class to be able to make fun of himself and create this fictional version of Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you don't get many actors that will drink water out of a dog bowl or whiskey out of a dog bowl or whatever it was. I don't know.
No. Okay.
Not for less than $5 million.
Okay, hold on.
That's right.
Best Bruce Campbell movie.
Bubba Hotep.
Now,
There you
did
go.
you work on the screenplay for that?
No, but Don was very close to exactly what I'd written. He made some changes, and he did some very clever things, and he directed beautifully. And Don's another great guy. I really think a lot of Don, and I'd like to work with him again. We worked together twice, actually, because at least in the sense that he did something of mine again. He did Incident on and Off a Mountain Road for Masters of Horror. And Stephen Romano wrote that script with him, but it was based on my story in Incident on and Off a Mountain Road.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
It was a Showtime thing. And I think it had 2 seasons, if I remember right. We were in the first season, first episode.
Now you also have with the Happen Leonard, which is a great combination. I don't know how you made that work. I mean, you have like 2 polar opposites that would normally not work well. You have a white dude who's anti-war, a black dude who's an ex-vet or Vietnam vet. He was a gay Republican. Okay.
Yeah, well, I worked in the Rose Fields myself, just like Happen Leonard. I was a Vietnam War resister. Back when I was young, I was so idealistic, I dropped out of the university to be drafted because I thought all these poor kids are going, they're taking my place. And I was stupid enough to not realize, of course, I was a poor kid.
Yeah.
I grew up poor. We didn't have much money. We were on that. There were people poorer than us, but we were on that poverty line. We were always, if we'd cost a quarter to ship, we'd have to throw up. And we were just getting along as best we could, I walked out and I was drafted, and I went and I refused to accept, being drafted, which meant prison, 18 months. And they told me go home and get my stuff in order, and just, like Hap, I did. And then I think I came back a week or 2 later. I don't remember exactly. They told me that I had to catch the bus out of Tyler, go back to Dallas. I came in and they said, "Do you still stand by what you said?" I said, "I do." And they said, "Go in and see our psychiatrist." I was in there maybe 5 or 10 minutes. They gave me a 1Y, which means I was not to be drafted. I was unfit for military service, or could not adjust to military service. And they sent me home. So unlike Hap, I didn't end up going to prison. And I think the reason they did, I think they threw me a bone. I've always felt that they did that because the war was winding down. This must have been about 72, I'm going to say. And I think they just thought, you know what, this guy really sincere. He's not dodging, and he's not running to Canada. He's not pretending, and I would not sign as a conscientious objector. Unlike in the series, they call Hap a conscientious objector.
Yeah.
In the books, he wasn't. He was like me. He just refused to go on principle of that war, and that he didn't believe that war was just. But when they asked the question, would I have fought in World War II? I said, yes, I believe that's a war I would have fought in. And they asked, something else about would I defend myself? For sure. I said, respect for life begins with your own. I said, certainly I would. But so I didn't fit the CO classification. So I've always felt they just kind of threw me a bone. And I ended up just going home kind of stunned back on the bus with my little sack lunch.
Yeah, you got lucky
back
there.
To the house. I did. I think I did. But I'm glad I stood up for it, And it's like civil rights. I did the same. And in martial arts, I met people that were gay, that were some of the toughest people I ever met. I didn't know they were gay at the time.
I met some people that were straight,
they had to keep it to themselves. Right. And so that's where that had a lot to do with Leonard's background. Yeah. And I borrowed from other people I knew. And I didn't know any black Republicans. And I saw one on TV one day, which was a little bit like sighting a dodo in your room cooking French fries. You just didn't happen. You didn't see that kind of thing. And now it's more common, but back then that wasn't. You just didn't have that. And then I saw something about a black gay, maybe Republican, but I just thought all those things kind of came together. And I said, these are people that exist in our world, and they're not being represented. It isn't a matter of like pulling out a card. I know I'll make him gay. I'll make him an alcoholic. I'll make him miss a toe. That's not characterization. That's sort of like, little cards that you pull out to create characters. Characters have to be developed out of something deeper within yourself.
Okay.
Because every character in your book is you.
I got a question for you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that you met the people that are in your stuff, have you met Christina Hendricks?
Yes.
Oh, man.
How was that?
She's just a wonderful actress, and she's a great person. She's really sweet, very kind, and very nice, and she is just talented as hell. In fact, I think if I remember what James Purefoy said, he said something like, me and Mike showed up. We were like a couple old, Radley trucks, and then here comes, Christina, who's like a Rolls Royce, comes purring up.
Oh, of course.
And he said we had to pick up our game when she showed up, and I think that's true. She nailed the accent. She nailed the accent from first day, and I thought she was from Texas. I walked in, was talking to her. Me and my niece. My niece worked for me while I was on the set, and the first season. And I said, "Are you from the South?" She said, "Well, I was born in Tennessee, but I didn't actually grow up there. But I'm kind of being in character." And she had that down. I remember when they had me. They asked me. They said, "Would you go to a table reading and read all of this script and read just the first episode and read the directions?" It was written by someone else, but they wanted me to read the directions. And I think it was because they wanted these people who were playing these characters to hear East Texas. So I went in and I sat down and I looked at them and I could see people kind of blanching, going, "Oh shit, we can't do that. We can't find that accent." And but the coach for the accents was there, a nice lady, and she was standing there watching, and I did the reading and they did the dialogue and back and forth. And when I finished, she came over to me. She said, "That is the best East Texas accent I've ever heard." She thought I was an actor. I said, "No, I've been working on that one since birth."
It's natural, all natural.
Mm-hmm.
So you.
But no, Christina's great.
You said something earlier, right before Jesse cut you off with a rude question.
I'm sorry.
That I want to go back to.
Sorry, I just wanted to know. I just want to know.
No, it was a great question. Where you said that every character is yourself, and I went through a program in Seattle called the Film School, which is about telling stories on film. And one of the instructors, Warren Etheridge, who is a fantastic interviewer, his premise was that every screenwriter, because that was the focus of the course,
right,
is working through his own personal issues, and that every character is a variation on himself, the writer, and that if you follow a screenwriter's career, you can see those issues being worked on and resolved gradually over time.
Well, I agree with that, but not necessarily always issues. Sometimes concerns. Sometimes you may not have an issue with it, but you may have a concern with it. And also you may try to look at it from another perspective. And if you're a good writer, you do. You don't, when you write a villain, they shouldn't be like twirling their mustache, and opening their raincoat, to reveal themselves or something. They are as people have said before, that old quote about they're the heroes of their own story, and they have motivations as to why they do those things. Sometimes you have characters off stage, and they represent something that's more like a storm brewing, that you don't actually feel the storm, you just get kind of that ozone feel from it. There's books like that.
Mm-hmm.
To have them on board, they're not there to say, I'm going to be evil. They believe they're doing something right, or they've accepted that if they're not socially correct, they are, in their own view, personally correct. And sometimes when you do these things, you are working out these issues with yourself. I think if you look in mine, there's anti-racism is like a big theme of a large part of my work, and about the underdog and caring about the underdog. That's a large part of my work. I grew up in the South in the 50s and the 60s. People think it's bad now, and it is in many ways, but my God, I mean, water fountains where your black had to drink in water fountains. They had their own bathrooms out in the public. If they had a bathroom, they couldn't go in a restaurant. They couldn't go in they couldn't go in stores. The theater, they had to go upstairs to the balcony. And they didn't have a bathroom that they could use. They had to go out, go across the street, go to the bathroom and come back, so it was horrible. And then people say, I just wouldn't put up with that. Well, some people were able to get away with that, but most people, they didn't put up with it. Unfortunately, there were bad things that happened to them. Mm-hmm. That's how rotten it was. And that's why I'm so concerned now when this stuff is going on with Trump and with his people and the people like that who are pushing this whole agenda about the other. And that's a thing too. That's that fearful aspect. That's what Lovecraft did. It was always the other, and in some ways, the other to him were other races, and they were xenophobia. Now, I think that he's been a great influence on things, and I don't think you judge a writer of that era and a dead writer for their racism. You judge them for the fact that they've influenced everybody from Stephen King to whoever you think of. It's sort of like deciding nobody should drive a Ford because Henry Ford was, in fact, kind of a fascist. Yeah. Or that nobody should do anything. Yeah, and don't develop anything with certain planes that Lindbergh had to do with, that he did testing with, because he was a Hitler supporter. I mean, you can get, and you got Edison. He electrocuted an elephant to prove how powerful his electricity was and how dangerous it could be if used incorrectly. And this is a way to do electric chairs. I mean, you can make this list and you can go on forever. You usually don't support people now that are profiting from it, or say, oh yeah, you're like Roman Polanski. I'll never see a movie that he ever made after, and he made two of my favorite movies, Rosemary's Baby, Chinatown. But he raped a 13-year-old girl, and it has nothing to do with the girl forgiving him. That doesn't change the crime, Yeah. And so to me, he's a scumbag asshole, and I wouldn't watch anything that he did. And, I'm not talking about somebody that you think did it. That's something else. That's making a judgment on your own. Like, I don't know that Michael Jackson was a child molester, but he wouldn't be my babysitter.
No.
Let's put it like that.
And sometimes, though, I mean, the argument separating the art from the artist, that's one thing I've had before.
Well, you do separate it.
Yeah.
But Roman Polanski's alive, and he'd profit from me paying to go see his fucking movie.
Well, not if I'm bootlegging.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not bootlegging shit because I don't believe in doing that either. I'm an artist. I make money from this.
Do you want to watch it?
And right now we got to.
I mean,
well, I know, but I don't want to see it because that to me that seems like I'm sort of cheating on that.
It's Rosemary's Baby.
But if somebody's been dead, that's been dead 20 years, they're not going to profit from it. Somebody that impacted history. When he dies, I'll see a new movie. I've seen Chinatown, of course, before all that happened.
Like,
and you have to draw your own fucking line. But, for me, there are certain lines, and raping a 13-year-old girl is not the same as that he has a nasty habit or called somebody a cunt or something, Those things you may not like, and you may say, that guy's an asshole. But that's different to me. That's really crossing the line, and getting somebody drunk or drugged and being helped by other people to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I was really bothered by all the people who in Hollywood who tried to, justify that behavior because he
did.
was such a great artist.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of them do it themselves.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what we find out, right? Is shit? Well, I don't want them coming after me.
Wait, let Tammy repeat that again.
Yeah.
She was so soft spoken. Tammy, say that again.
No, I said a lot of them do it themselves. So of course they're going to sort of justify his actions.
Perping on kids, right? A lot of the people in Hollywood are perping on kids. Yep.
Yeah.
Burn that shit down.
Absolutely.
Burn it down.
A lot of what Hollywood is about is people that get jobs so they can fuck children. Don't think they don't. And what I mean by that is that, and I'm talking about children, people that are underage,
like Epstein?
because they bring these people in to make them stars. But a lot of times it's like, and I'm not saying everybody. I'm not trying to, tar everybody with the same brush. But it happens all the time. There's somebody that's in a movie, they're 15 or 16, and they put them under the wing of somebody, and that person takes advantage of them because the movie becomes more important than a person's emotions, because they know there will be another one born every minute, and it won't be long till they're 14 or 15, and they can play that part, and people can take advantage of it, or they grow up in a culture where they see this happening, So,
like
and
Schneider,
I'm not trying to tar the whole industry.
Yeah.
What's that?
I like Dan Schneider from Nickelodeon. Whatever. That dead
I don't even know who that is.
He's another pervert. Another hardcore pervert. He has a thing with feet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of.
But you know what?
And
saying you work in Hollywood, or you're working on a movie and you promise somebody the opportunity to be in a movie, people don't understand the magic, the pull of those kinds of words. It's I did some short films, and just doing some short films that I was paying for out of my own pocket, I could get people to do all kinds of shit just because I said I was working on a movie. Yeah, and
some people won't. Yeah, I think some people, they'll just want to be involved in the artistic part of it too. But you got to have that ability to look at something. My daughter, the singer, is a beautiful woman too. And when she was young, she had an actor who was older kind of approach her in a way that, and she was, I guess she was an adult. So, she was of the age to make any kind of decision like that she wanted. But this guy was like trying to really, mislead her and do all this. And she said, no, I don't think so. He said, well, you don't know what you're missing. And she said, you know what? I'm going to risk it. And I think sometimes you have to stand up for yourself.
And sometimes the families are involved too. Like the parents know, like they must have an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're more interested in having some weird connection to their child being in a fucking movie than they are about taking care of their children, And then, but there's the other side of this too. I do believe that people that are over 18, which is we consider an adult. When I was an adult, if I made a stupid decision, it was mine. Mm-hmm. I had to own it. And I'm not talking about people taking advantage of me, attacking me, or anything like that. But I'm talking about if I made a decision to maybe go somewhere where I probably knew something bad was going to happen, and I thought, well, maybe this is advantageous to me, then that's my decision, and I have to deal with that. Mm-hmm. Because I made that decision based on being an adult. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't people in power that can take advantage of anybody, and that's a different thing.
Okay, we got a few questions in the chat. Sorry.
Yeah.
We're kind of
all right. I got off on that. I'm sorry.
We're short on time. But
good discussion.
Before I get the questions from the chat, Tammy, you got any other questions?
No.
Okay.
I'm good right now.
Got to make sure you shine because this is your debut. Okay. And hey, guys in the chat, what do you think about Tammy? Okay. Because her questions are coming up. Yeah. Okay. After this interview with Joe R. Lansdale. Okay. So, question in the chat. What do you think of Epstein? What? That was a question? What do you think of Epstein's suicide? Do you think it's suicide or murder?
I'm just glad he's dead.
I'm glad he's dead too.
Good answer. Good answer.
But I'm gonna go with murder.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to hearing him, spill the beans on.
I know, right? Even his attorneys were.
Well, they have all these kinds of records and stuff like that. You'll be hearing that more about that for probably a few years from now, and that'd be the only reason for him to speak up. But and let me just say this: I don't go down lay down at night and go, "Gee, poor Jeff."
Yeah, no.
Or whatever.
No.
Another question from Paul Bailey. Can someone ask him about his story, Fish Story? How his story, Fish Story, came about? If there was an inspiration.
Fish Night, maybe.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, Fish Night. Yeah, there actually was. It's kind of weird. I remember it because I wrote a lot of my short stories in like 20, 30 minutes back then because they were relatively short. But I was laying on the couch and we had a fish mobile, and it would spin around, and when the air conditioners were blowing, and I was watching that fish mobile, and that kind of started it. I'm sure there were other factors. Like all stories, there are all kinds of things probably that you don't even think about. But when I saw that it happened, I wrote a story called Chompers about false teeth that people were compelled to put in their mouth, and then they would eat everything they saw, and then the teeth, they would eat themselves, and then the teeth would fall on the ground. Somebody else was compelled to pick them up. And that story came from seeing Gandhi and how bad his dentures or his teeth were. And I thought he needs some dentures. And the story came from that.
Oh my God. Gandhi's dentures.
All right, the ideas.
And by the way, Fish Night was in Love, Death, and Robots. If you've seen Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix, because they did two of mine in that in those episodes. They're about 10 minutes apiece. They're all
you are
David
connected
Fincher.
to Love, Death, and Robots. How are you?
Yep.
I did not know this. Now I know this.
They did two of my stories.
Well, way to go, Jesse! Not doing your research.
They did The Dump and they did Fish Night.
Tammy,
I've done everything, man.
Oh man!
Another question from the chat: do you ever think about writing another novel in the vein of Drive-In?
Well, I've written 3 drive-in novels, and they're all coming out again either late this year or early next. But I don't know. I've written some really weird things about Ned the Seal, who's a brain-enhanced seal. I wrote 3 books about him. The third one comes out December, I believe, of this year. It's called The Sky Done Rip. The first one was Zeppelin's West, and there was Flame in London. Now, they're not like Drive-In, but they are really, brain damaged, and I think they're real fun. But a lot of the stuff that I did, like the Drive-In, went into short stories. So I have a lot of short stories and novellas that are space cadets.
Cool.
You never know. I don't know what I'm going to do till I do it,
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
Does that mean... tell me more about that statement. That you kind of threw it in at the end as a toss-away line, but
okay.
I think there's more behind that. I don't know what I'm going to do until I do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure what I'm going to write till I do it. Sometimes it'll be something that's a catalyst, Like I said, somebody says, we're writing a story about, pigs with 3 legs. And I go, okay, I can do a 3-leg pig story, but I'm going to take it from my own direction. But on the other hand, someone may ask me about something that doesn't move me at all. Or somebody says, why don't we want to do something in the Old West, but we want to add horror or supernatural or weird elements. And then that may give me a whole different story, but it's got to be my story.
Yeah.
And but I don't always know until I put my fingers on the keys what it is. Yeah. I don't think things out. I don't sit around for days thinking,
cool.
I've got to put this story together in my head and all that, because it doesn't work me like that. I get bored too easy. And I just have too much fun doing it. For me, it's just not a job. It's fun.
All right. And then how are you for time?
I'm okay. I've got another 30 minutes if you need it, but I don't want to step on Tammy's toes.
Oh, no. Feel free to stay around if you
She's
want
got
to help
really
out with
small toes.
Okay. All right. Well, one question I want to ask you, though. What's your favorite horror movie?
The Haunting, the original version from the 1960s.
Ooh.
So good.
That's a good one.
Yes.
We don't get that one as an answer very often.
No.
Well, you should. You should. It's a good one.
Great movie.
By the way, I did a pre-recorded episode for the for episodes that we drop in October, and it was Damascus Mincemar, the guy who's been doing our covers of Dead Man's Tome. Great cover artist. Awesome artist, actually. The game was horror movie quotes, and out of I got like 50%. I'm like, what the fuck? I fucking failed. I gotta lose the horror.
Oh, that was a brutal episode. It was a total failure.
Oh no. Oh, you're
How did you fail that? That's pretty disappointing.
It is disappointing.
Yeah.
But that won't drop until October, that particular episode.
I love horror, and I've seen lots of horror movies, but I don't watch many anymore, and I don't read a lot of it. It's not that I don't read it. It's that I just have other interests. You know, those are there, but they're not my only interest. I'm not driven just by that. I also like crime. I like straight novels. I'll read The Great Gatsby about once every 5 years or so. And, I've Steinbeck, Hemingway, Flannery O'Connor is my favorite short story writer, Carson McCullers, and then yet I love Robert Bloch and Richard Matheson and Ray Bradbury and Bill Nolan, and I mean there's so many writers, Gerald Kirsch, and there's Henry Kuttner, Cyril Kornbluth. All of these writers impress me and inspire me. But my favorite book of all time is Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, and and my favorite film is probably the same, along with Casablanca and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. So I have variable tastes.
I figured that one because of the Western influence. Okay.
Yeah.
Give me less than a minute. I need to get a pad and pen for the because we got to do a serious interview with Tammy G. We got to make sure she's co-host material. Okay.
No.
All right. One moment.
Now I'm nervous.
You should be.
Oh yeah, I'm shaking.
I've been combing the webs, the intertubes, for interview questions.
Okay, and actually, Joe could stay because Joe, what would you want in a co-host? Let me ask you.
Now I'm really nervous. Thanks, guys.
Hey, no problem,
No, well, one thing that she's got going for her already, she has a very interesting and pleasant voice. And when I hear her voice, I'm intrigued. I want to know what she's about,
Yes.
And I think that's the thing. You want somebody that knows how to ask questions, but you also want somebody that you're curious about. If you're a guest, you want to be curious about the host, you. And I'm curious about her. You, I don't care about at all. But her, I think she's great.
I like that.
Sorry, boom. I set you up, but I do. I mean that though. I think Tammy's got a really good voice. She's got a vibe about her I like, and that's good.
Thank you. See, I'm hired.
You're welcome.
Done.
Yeah.
Hired and done. Not quite yet. I don't know, man. Let's find out. All right, here's Tammy's picture on the screen here. There you go. Okay.
Oh no.
Okay. All right. SK.
Now they know what I.
Now they know what you look like. All right. Favorite horror movie? Start light.
The Exorcist.
Exorcist.
The Exorcist.
Okay. And why?
The Exorcist.
Why? Well, I mean, as you know, I'm a paranormal investigator, and I've seen spirits since I was 5. I think I can not that I've ever been possessed, but I can relate to the movie. Darker cases are kind of my thing. So I just have a thing with the demonic.
Okay, so you've seen spirits.
Me.
You've seen spirits since you were 5. You have a thing with the demonic.
Yeah.
I like this already because it contrasts with SK. SK, you want to explain very shortly about your experience with the paranormal?
I don't have any.
Exactly. Okay.
And I grew up next to a boneyard.
Literally.
Huh.
Literally across the chicken wire fence from my yard.
Wow.
I mean, one of my earliest memories is playing with my trucks on a pile of dirt in the cemetery next to an open grave.
But you see, cemeteries, they're so peaceful. Like, I mean, I've gone to some and had some good activity, but they're usually just peaceful. Nothing too crazy.
SK, they're usually peaceful. Okay, so
Yeah.
For me, like, I can go have a picnic in a cemetery, and that's like my favorite kind of day. So, I mean,
Hey, I used to take, girlfriends to
that wasn't even a
cemeteries.
question.
I'm sure
But I
you
like that.
did.
Wait. So your ideal place to have a picnic is a where now?
A cemetery.
All right,
You
that's
know,
a
that-
check
that
in the
used
right
to be
department
pretty
there.
popular.
Well, that's a great point because nobody's gonna bug you there.
That's true. Exactly.
It reminds me when we were young and teenagers, we used to go out to this old abandoned graveyard in the deep woods along the Sabine River. And it was so dark out there that when we would, we'd park our cars and turn off those lights and we'd turn off our flashlights and it was dead dark. And we had a guy that used to have a recording of a dying rabbit. It was not a real dying rabbit, but it was the sort of thing that they used it for hunters. They really did.
Right.
They used that to attract wolves or something. And we would just sit there and all of these eyes would surround us in the dark. They would just sort of come closer and you could come closer. After a little while, you'd flip on the light and you'd just be a scuttle and whatever it was, it was gone because that dying rabbit sound was attracting.
That sounds fun.
Okay.
Yeah, that's spooky. I remember them doing that, though.
So where should SK go to find some ghosts?
I think everywhere has something. I mean,
Okay.
where your house stands right now.
I mean, seriously, I spent night after night staring into the, eerily lit cemetery from a single street light. Creepy as fuck with the trees blowing in the winds and shit like that. I didn't see anything except, the assholes down the street driving their motorcycles through.
But how open are you to it, too? I mean,
I was looking for it.
Were you
that doesn't
really?
mean you're really open to it, though.
Mhm.
I don't know
Come
what
to my
that
house.
means then.
You come to my house, you'll believe in spirit.
Invite to her house to see a spirit.
Oh,
Check.
I like that invitation.
Well, there's a catch-22 in that, though. The people will say if you're sensitive to it, you'll see them, and if you're not, if you don't see them, then you're just not sensitive. So it's kind of like there's no way to answer that. Mm-hmm.
True, but I have turned a lot of skeptics into believers. So
You know what?
and see, I
might have to visit more than once.
I am enjoying this SK versus Tammy right now. That's a check right there.
Yeah.
SK's skepticism versus Tammy's believing ghosts. Now,
I'm absolutely willing to be convinced, but it might.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm like that. I would be, but I've been on a bunch of ghost things, and I've done Bigfoot hunts. I've done all that, and what we had was zilch.
Well, Bigfoot's a man in a suit.
It's like those stupid shows on TV. Did you hear that? No, I didn't hear shit. And did you see that? No, I didn't see shit either.
Okay.
Well,
I live in the Northwest, Sasquatch Central.
Well,
and
Sasquatch.
every time I'm driving through the mountains or hiking through the mountains, I'm always on the lookout. I haven't seen anything.
Nope, me neither.
I went on a Bigfoot hunt too, and I got more paranormal activity.
Okay, cool. Well, okay, I didn't even plan for that question. Okay, Bigfoot, is he real or not real?
No.
No. I'm sorry.
No.
Sorry.
I want him to be.
I was asking
mean,
Tammy.
that's what people don't understand is that it's like, UFOs. I don't believe in them either. But could there be something out there? Yeah, I think that's possible. But I think any of these stories like, Area 51 and all that? No. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that there are aliens. I don't, because that's all just wishful thinking. Just because you see something in the sky you can't identify doesn't mean it's a flying saucer. And I remember,
flying saucer doesn't mean it comes from another planet.
Absolutely. And one morning,
China.
my wife and I got up, and this is when we were working in the rose fields, and we got real early and went out and milked goats, and we We looked up, and there was a giant silver triangle just as it was starting to become light, and it was flying right over us. And I mean, it was huge. And then as the light shifted, all of these insects began to move forward, and you could see the gaps between them. They were flying in formation, and they were silver, and the way the sun was rising. And if I had looked away that other second, I would have told people from that point on that I saw a flying, an unidentified flying object.
Let me be clear.
And just because it's unidentified don't mean it's alien.
Okay.
Right.
Hold on. This question was for Tammy. Bigfoot.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm sorry.
Oh, don't be a dick.
Way to put the superstar in his place.
Yeah, I'm just joking. No, but you do have a good point there. But Tammy,
I don't
Bigfoot?
know. I don't know. I don't think that there's enough solid evidence of it. So
conspiracy minded. I'm liking that. Okay. All right.
Now,
we need a balance. We need to balance the show.
Member of
SK is like show me the facts. I'm like the middle guy. I'm whichever way. Okay. You just persuade me. Okay.
I'm
so
pretty good at that.
UFOs.
UFOs? I believe that there's aliens, yeah.
Alien.
I believe in aliens.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Now some serious questions about
Oh boy.
Okay.
Let's get serious.
I had serious. You didn't say we were going to do serious questions. I didn't prepare any serious questions.
How do you pronounce the word poem?
Poem?
Say
You're
that
right.
again.
Poem?
So
it's not poem.
Oh, that's too much.
I can't.
So it's poem. Okay.
Yes.
Check.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I got a question.
Okay.
If you could be any animal, who would you kill and eat first?
What?
I like this.
If I could be any animal, who would I kill and eat first?
Yes.
Her dad.
All my haters.
You have haters?
Those bitches that don't like me.
Wait. But bitches, you mean like soy boy men, or do you mean like actual like females?
Mean girls.
Mean girls.
Mean girls.
You get mean girls.
I have to agree with you. I'm going to support you on the mean girl devouring.
Yeah.
Devour the mean girls. Check in that box right there. Okay. But wait. What animal would you be though? Did I miss that?
What animal would I be?
Would you be a tiger? Like
a tiger. Why did you have to? Yeah, that's exactly what I would be.
That's the first thing I said. You just agreed to the first thing I said?
I was gonna say that. You shouldn't have spoke. It was a question, wasn't it?
Check in that box. You agreed to the first thing I say. Okay. I don't know. I'm liking that.
What is your favorite breakfast cereal?
Cocoa Puffs.
Don't prime the pump there, Jesse.
I'm testing it.
Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch. That's a win.
Wait.
Hired.
Oops All Berries or the actual Captain Crunch?
No, the plain regular.
No
berries.
crunch berries.
Oh,
No.
but with some berries though, right? Like half
No
and half?
crunch berries, Jesse.
No berries.
No berries? Oh, okay. I'm checking the column to get the fuck out of here. Okay.
I'm gonna override that.
Okay, I guess SK can override things now. Okay, what does Joe say, Mr. Lansdale?
About what? Crunches of the cereal?
Yeah,
Yes.
breakfast cereal.
I don't want any.
Doesn't.
What?
Okay.
I don't oatmeal.
Okay.
Oh,
Oatmeal.
Pretty good.
what? You eat healthy and shit?
Well, I don't like a lot of sugary shit, so no.
Oh.
No Captain Crunch for me.
Okay.
Fine, then.
So do you think that Tammy needs to have a
So Joe's
healthier
not going to be
diet?
a co-host.
No.
That's my favorite cereal. Doesn't mean that's what I eat. I can't eat any of that stuff anymore anyway.
Captain Crunch is actually really good though. That was actually my favorite cereal growing up. So that's all right.
Although it jacks up the roof of your mouth, but it's good.
It
Yeah.
does.
It does,
It
but
shreds
it's not so
down.
bad. It's not so bad.
My favorite cereal was always granola if I was going to eat it.
Granola's yummy.
Yeah,
You will
granola.
Okay.
But it's not good for you either.
What's your idea of a Friday night?
Mine?
Mm-hmm.
Being on a podcast.
We're all right here, man.
Yeah. We have fabulous social
Don't
lives.
don't feed Tammy. Don't give her the answer here.
Depends on my mood. Like, I mean, I can go out to the shooting range. That would be fun.
You shoot guns. Okay, what guns do you
I
shoot?
shoot guns, yes.
Do you own a gun?
I have a 357. I have a 38. I have
Okay.
a 45 Glock.
Wait.
A 22.
So
That's
you are cool guns. You like guns.
Yeah, I like
Check.
them.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. How do you feel about Texas? Oh, how do you feel about California?
Okay, I hate California.
Check.
That's why I'm moving to Texas.
Check.
Okay.
Oh, you are? You gonna move?
I'm moving probably within the next 5 months.
All right. Look at
Where
that.
are you moving to?
Probably Prosper.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
By
Texas is big.
McKinney, Dallas
the-
area.
Oh, Dallas.
Dallas.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dallas-ish.
Okay. All right. How do you feel about anime?
Anime?
Yeah.
It's never done much for me.
Okay. That's okay. I need to grow
Alright.
out of that too. That's okay. But that's sort of like a middle
Yeah.
ground.
I have a question from the chat for Tammy. Where are you from?
I live in a small town called Mountain House, California. I'm kind of in between Sacramento and San Francisco.
California doesn't like plastic straw ban. How do you feel about that?
What?
The plastic straw ban.
Man.
The straw ban.
I think it's fucking stupid.
Check.
Sorry.
Fuck the sea turtles, right? Fuck them. It sounds so bad. I used to watch Captain Planet as a kid, but now I realize I'm the villain. Fuck Captain Planet. No.
Well, these paper straws, they're gross. Like, you're
They're-
drinking and the straw's like coming apart in your mouth. Like, nobody wants
They're
that.
coming
You
in your
know,
mouth.
we used to have paper straws long ago, and nobody liked them.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Well, they got straws now made out of other things, vegetables and things like that actually are very strong. Or you can even bring your own damn straw. We got too many fucking plastic straws. There's too many,
Joe
that
is.
shit does matter.
It does matter. Okay. Environmentalist.
Yeah.
Okay. It's cool. I understand.
Yeah,
Protect
I'm
the
very much an
environment.
environmentalist, It does count. I mean, it's not a matter of I think a lot of people go, well, that's not cool, that's sissy. No, it's fucking plastic straws that eventually get in the water. You've seen parts of the ocean, people are scooping up plastic and crap by plastic bags, plastic straws, plastic cups. We need things that can be more recyclable, and I think we can do it. I think one of you guys need to make something out of a carrot or something.
There's
something that works, though. Like, because paper straws, that doesn't work.
I don't like paper straws, but I'll just not use one. I'll just drink it. But the thing is that they do have these straws that they're made out of some kind of fruit or vegetable or something, and they're just like any other straw. They're hard and they're you probably can melt them down and eat them afterwards. I don't know, but I think that's going to be a trend of the future.
Well, there's also, I believe, I talked about this earlier, but I think last year when I talked about the plastic straw ban, there's a few chemists, I think, in Japan where they're working on a way to break down plastic even faster.
Yeah, that's also going on.
That could just solve it because plastics.
Yeah, they're also looking at nanobots for devouring plastic and bacteria.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Okay, we got a few questions for the chat, and actually, I'm curious about this. What happened to you at the age of 5?
What happened to me at the age of 5?
Yes.
I was at so there's a historic house in Hayward, California called Mika State Mansion, and they used to hold flea markets on the property. And I was there with my parents, and I looked up in the window, and there was a little girl looking down at me. She had a white lace dress up to her neck and braided hair. And I yank on my mom, and I'm like, "Mommy, look!" And then we look up, and she was gone. And then I saw her one other time playing because they had a playground there too. And then I think 20 years later, I actually got to investigate the house and come to find out that was a little girl's bedroom. So that validated my experience for sure.
So you have paranormal experiences in your own personal home?
My house is jacked up.
CSK, that's the problem. Your house was haunted. Okay, was there like a murder-suicide at your house?
I need to jack it up, apparently.
Like, how do you get a jacked up house?
Well, for me, so where I live now, it was all like Indian, like there was Indian burial here. Because I think it was like 2 years ago.
Indian burial. Okay.
Yeah.
Indian burial, the whole poltergeist paradigm.
Because when I first moved here, as soon as we moved in, we had stuff happening. So I was like trying to find like, okay, what was this land before? And all I could find that it was dairy farms. But they're building so much, and they ended up digging up some graves or some bones, and they sent it out to Sacramento, and they had them tested. And sure enough, that's what it was. And I dig more. I go on to like the forum because the town has its own little Facebook page, and everyone's like talking about all the experiences they're having, and it's very similar to what was going on in my house. So it only makes sense.
Okay, so if I were wait. Well, I gotta go back to the interview questions real fast. Mexican, Italian, or Greek?
Dating or food?
What does she think this is?
Here? Food?
I don't know. You tell me.
Dating?
Food.
I think either way it'd be Italian.
Italian.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And if it was dating, Greek is pretty good too.
So you don't like Mexican?
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're coming to Texas. Your answer is Mexican food.
Yeah.
That is the best. I love Mexican food.
I am part Mexican.
Oh, you're part Mexican.
Italian.
That's a check there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Gotta respect that. All right. Look at that. All right.
I keep being drawn somehow to Italian women. It's not a conscious thing. I don't know how that happens.
Because they're beautiful.
Okay,
because they're beautiful.
Well,
you got a question in the chat. Got to make sure this. Are you a flat earther? Is the Earth flat or is it round?
It's round.
Are you sure?
Well, flat earther would say it is round. It's just not spherical.
Okay. Is it spherical or is it kind of like
flat?
Kind of flat. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think about this much.
It's flat though, right? It's flat. The Earth is flat.
I mean, yeah.
Stop it, Izzy.
You're a dick.
I am not a dick.
Yeah, you are.
You are.
I'm having fun.
I don't want the job. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
Whoa, we didn't think that was a possibility. Shit.
But no.
Think this through, Jesse.
It's okay. It's okay. Is the Earth flat or is it spherical?
It's flat.
The Earth is flat. Okay.
Did Neil Armstrong walk on the moon?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
What?
Did Neil Armstrong?
Was it real or faked?
Yes, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
He walked on the moon. That's not fake.
Right. You have to think about this.
You don't know. There's so much misinformation out there now. So much stuff.
Yeah, believe it. Yeah.
Okay. Are there chemicals in the water that are turning the frogs gay?
Oh my fucking! What are these questions though? Seriously.
I'm just messing with you right here.
No, there's not.
Well, actually,
Ruger or Colt?
Oh, okay. It's a serious question. Fuck, marry, kill. Freddy, Jason, or Chucky?
Mary. Wait. Michael.
Oh, it was
Freddy and Jason, right?
It was Freddy, Jason, and Chucky. Though Michael, I would understand you. Okay.
Well, Michael would be off. Well, okay. Chucky, kill.
Okay. You don't play around with toys, okay?
Yeah. Jason. Fuck.
Okay. Yeah,
Freddie
pretty much lasts forever.
Freddie's the man of my dreams.
You marry Freddie. He's the man of your dreams.
Freddie's the man of your dreams.
Yeah.
That's
I like knives.
So you like edged weapons as well as firearms?
I do.
Okay. SK, any other questions? I think you got some questions.
Man, my mind is blown.
Okay. Addams Family or the Munsters?
Ooh.
That's hard. Addams Family.
Good
Yeah,
choice. Good choice.
I do have one more question. Can you think back to that moment in your life where you made that wrong decision, that wrong turn that led you to be here on this show tonight? And would you do it differently?
I guess it was that interview a year ago.
Oh, damn it. Busted my balls and laughing about it. Check.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think, if anyone else in the chat has any other questions, I think these are the questions. I think,
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah.
She's totally.
Yeah, Tammy, as long as you want to stay as co-host, you are co-host, okay? The chat seems to either... Cool Tactic, who's the moderator of the chat, seems to either... He's torn whether to like you or hate you. He's not sure. But I don't think he means a hate. I think he just means... Oh, actually, a serious question, though. How do you deal with haters? Because we get haters on the show sometimes.
Well, I've had many for a very long time. And now I just kind of ignore them. I don't let it get to me. So, I mean.
Okay, cool. You have thick skin.
What about Joe?
Good.
Let's throw that question to Joe.
How do you do with haters, Joe?
Fuck them.
Fuck them. That's what you do.
I've got time for that shit. You can spend. When I was younger, you'd get into these things where you're quarreling match or whatever that stuff. As long as they're reasonable, I can talk to people who have totally different points of view. But just jackasses, what I don't, if it's I don't have a Facebook page, I have a fan page. But if I was on Twitter, goodbye, Beb. I just don't need it. You don't have to deal with them.
Exactly.
That's right. Okay, so we have a few more minutes left. We're going overtime. I'm going to do a caption contest. I have the caption up here on the screen. I asked Tammy if she would read the comments. Tammy, do you have access to that Facebook page or Facebook group?
Which one is that?
It's the Dead Man's Tome fan club on Facebook. It's the.
Did you send that to me in Messenger?
I think I did.
Working on that now.
Okay.
Before you guys get started, I'm getting old. I got to run.
Okay, no problem, Joe. Hey, Mr. Lansdale, it's great having you.
Contradictory.
Thank you so much
Yeah,
for being on the
being
show.
here.
It was great talk with you. Feel free to come back anytime, and yeah, you have a good one.
Well, thanks for the invitation. You guys have a good night.
You too.
Thanks for being here.
Bye.
So I sent you the link in Skype.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it to it right now.
All right. Do you have a southern voice? You do a southern drawl?
Sometimes I do. I don't know why.
I heard it a little
Sometimes
bit.
I just I start talking in different accents, and I don't know.
All right, try it.
I have a theory that the southern accents are the easiest to unconsciously adopt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and I used to be a debt collector, and so I would talk to different people all the time.
You used to collect debt?
Yeah, I used to be one of those people.
Apparently,
Well, I can't talk you for that because I also used to work at a call center, so I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
And so when I would talk to people with different accents, I don't know, I would just kind of pick them up and start talking like them and not even realize I'm doing it. So yeah, not good sometimes. Can you send that to me in Facebook? Because it's not letting me log in from the thing above.
Okay. Let me send it to you. You are a member of the group on Facebook. Let me send it.
It's a group.
Yeah, I think
What's it called again?
It should be one of the first posts. It's going to be the picture of the chick.
There you go, Jesse.
I know, right? All right.
Sorry, I'm part of a lot of groups on Facebook.
You're part of a lot of groups?
Yes.
Okay. Well, actually,
we got some responses to this one.
We did. So, if you did come on the show, how would you help on promoting the show?
I would promote the shit out of it all over Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and wherever.
And
I'm really good at
for the chat, would you rather listen to Tammy talk over to me? If so,
well, duh. That's not even a question.
Right?
Oh, come on. You have a good voice.
Oh,
Mine's
thank you
just
for
like,
lying.
I sound like a 12-year-old
Also,
girl.
my other question, do you lie? And apparently you do. You lie, Tammy.
Oh,
You just lie.
my gosh.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Lie. No.
Okay, I sent it to you in Messenger.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Now the trick is here. Read me those captions or the comments without saying the person's name. That way I'm not biased. That's the plan. That way I don't like pick a favorite.
All right, are we ready?
Yeah.
Ready.
How did you get my photo?
Okay. That's good. All right, next one.
Men are from Mars. Real women are from Texas.
Yeah?
I guess so.
Okay.
Next one.
Or they moved to Texas. No. Okay. When it comes to home defense, Cindy Lou always shows a united front.
A united front. Okay.
I don't know about united. Maybe lifted and separated, but
Yeah, looking at this photo some more, I'm like, not a huge wreck actually. It's there's some foul play here, but I don't know.
It's just the way she's positioned. She
Yeah.
actually has small tits.
She has small
I'm just
tits.
saying.
That's from a woman, by the way. Okay. Wait. Are you a real woman? Or are you a man as a woman?
I am 100% a woman.
Okay, check in the right department. Not that we don't discriminate here on the show, but I'm sorry, we're looking for a female co-host. Okay. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I was born with all the right parts. We'll say that.
All
okay.
the right parts. Okay. Oh, another question. Do you have a hard time getting unsolicited dick pics?
Okay. This is a funny topic because I see women all the time on Facebook saying, "Oh my God, I got another dick pic," and blah, 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 blah. And they're not attractive women, okay? At all. And I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm just saying. And I don't really get any dick pics. So I'm kind of like, So maybe they just send them to the women that they
I see some in your future. Now, just those people listening here probably be assholes. But
no, Jesse, no.
Not me.
Your wife will get mad at you.
I'd have to zoom in for that one. No.
I can't see.
That's why you bought that 500 millimeter lens.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Let's keep going.
I don't get dick pics.
Good.
Ready for the PTO meeting at Rains County School.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wendy's Twitter account as a person.
Okay, that's kind of funny.
That's pretty good.
Goddamn zombies. I'm drinking here. Kiss off.
Okay.
With this 12 gauge in your face, bet I know where your eyes will be.
Yeah. Your flapjacks.
Making Jessica White dance for a glance. Did I miss something? Old MacDonald might have stolen her prized pumpkin, but she was going to make damn sure he didn't get his hands on her impressive melons.
Okay.
I got 100 in my mouth, a 12 gauge in my one hand, 100 proof in the other, and my 38s are almost too big for my bra. Yeah,
that's fake.
numbers.
It's fake.
I'm a numbers person for sure. Fuck your calculator and bring on the damn tornado.
Okay.
And that is it.
Oh man, I think. Which one do you think, guys? I want to do this as a democracy, not a dictatorship ananymore.
Well, that's a first.
I know, right? It used to be
I kind of
a dead-atorship. That was horrible. So a vote. We vote. From now on, we vote for who wins these captions and stuff. Which one was good? I think the Wendy's one was great. It was good.
I like Wendy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
eh.
What about you? What about you, Tammy? What do you feel?
I like the 12 gauge one. With
12
this 12 gauge in your face. Yeah. I like that one.
Read that one again.
With the 12 gauge in your face, but I know where your eyes will be.
Okay. Yeah. If she's
still be looking at her tits.
Yeah. So what do you think, SK? You think that's good?
It's
good?
just
Yeah.
how that works.
All right. Who said that one? Who said that one?
Where is it? Richard Raven.
All right. See, what we do is I give out like a free copy of one of the books that Dead Stone publishes, like an ebook, like some cheap, and send it out that way. Okay. So I'll try to make sure I remember to give him a copy of that. And if not, he can hit me up on Messenger and remind me. But I'll wake up tomorrow.
What? There's a prize? Oh,
There's
man.
a prize. There's always a prize. Okay. Well, that's good.
I want a prize.
You want a prize?
I want a prize.
Okay.
Come back
Tammy,
next week.
Tammy, your prize is. No, honestly, I think you might be a good fit on the show. I said might. I think you might actually be a good fit for the show because I think you counter SK's skepticism. I think it put a balance in the show. Your voice, people like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as your schedule works, as long as it works for you, I don't see any problem here.
Yeah,
it
works.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Good for answering the ad for the what was it? The DT dollars that you're getting paid for this, the cryptocurrency. Yeah.
It's so crypto you can't even spend it.
No. It's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a. It's of a fraction. It's not even anything. All right. Oh, another question in the chat. I guess I'll ask you. See how cool you are. Why do women secretly hate sex? This has come from the moderator in the chat. Is that true?
I love sex. I'm like a guy on crack when it comes to sex, so I can't answer that question.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that they hate sex. Maybe they just hate sex with the person they're with.
Maybe they hate dicks.
Yeah,
No,
maybe they hate.
It's not even that.
Wait, hold on. Let me test you with a theory here, Tammy.
I'm going to take issue with the theory.
Good. Maybe someone.
So I contend that women have higher sex drives than men.
Yeah.
Oh,
because how many orgasms can a woman have in a day versus a man?
Oh well, you're asking the wrong person. I mean, I'm like a rabbit sometimes.
Lots
Okay.
more. Lots more. 10 times.
Because like
20
in
times.
one session we can have like
Many.
a lot.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah.
So women, I think, are designed to have a higher sex drive. However, that is tempered by the knowledge that there are deep and lifelong consequences for their sexual choices.
Tammy,
and therefore they have to be more cognizant of those decisions.
No.
Okay, Tammy.
I think maybe
yeah.
they just don't like the dick they have at home.
Maybe they don't like the dick they have at home.
Well, there's that. There's like, maybe he's just not doing it right.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you're just not sexually compatible with somebody and you don't want to have sex with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you can help me out here too. Because, okay, so when it comes to lesbians, they use when they use phallic shaped toys like dicks, fake dicks, are they not just essentially wanting a dick, but they're just going with a fake dick? Like, what is the deal with lesbians? Are they really lesbian? Or are they just like, what's going on?
I think they just don't. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a lesbian,
Yeah.
so I can't answer that question. But I don't know. I mean, if you're having sex with things that are shaped as a penis, then I don't know. Maybe they're just not physically attracted to men though, and they don't want being with a man.
So okay, so they'd be totally cool. Like, well, I totally get not being physically attracted to a man. I mean, I totally understand that.
I'm not.
No, right? Neither am I.
Yeah.
I mean,
so easy to understand.
I mean, I don't have any weakness in me. You can't. Okay, that's pretty much it for the show. But so, ladies and gentlemen,
What a note to end on.
if you enjoyed this, please press the like button and let me know what you think in the comment section. After this is done, share and subscribe. Y'all take it easy.